So, this book is a compendium of stories of young people involved in the environmental movement. More than 30 young people I worked with the Brower Youth Awards. And it both tells their stories, but also provides a roadmap for other young people who are looking to get their start in the environmental movement. And it charts how you find the issues you're passionate about, identify those, build a group, communicate your message, lobby, use protests, reach the media, potentially run for office, all the sort of skills of any sort of organizing 101 toolkit, but it's designed for the 25 and under set. Many people have to find their own agents, which is really challenging. And I definitely have some suggestions for that based on talking with Kitty Coles, who was my agent. But she found us, and the process looked like sitting down and thinking through a number of ideas about what direction the book could take. And then she helped us figure out how to put together a proposal, sample chapters, put together the proposal that describes our marketing, what makes the book unique, who the audience for this book would be, what other books exist within the marketplace that are similar to this book, but what makes our book unique, and design that in such a way that we would appeal to a publisher. And we talked a lot back and forth about the types of publishers we'd be willing to go with. And I was open to a wider suite of publishers, including smaller, greener publishers than Kitty was, but she encouraged us to look for publishers that could give us an advance of about $10,000. And she actually negotiated with our eventual publisher, 10 Speed Press, to renegotiate a sweeter deal for Earth Island Institute. So it's really beneficial to have those conversations early on. What types of publishers are you looking for? What type of advance are you looking for?
Publisher.
So, one of the things is really being familiar with the other books that you admire, or that have a voice that you admire, or that are in the field that you admire, and actually look in the acknowledgement section to see who they recognize as their agents. So, you can start to create your wish list or top five agents that you might want to work with, names that emerge in these books, and actually go directly to their website or research who they are and what types of proposals. Typically, they want to see that same type of proposal that a publisher wants to see. So, very well thought through description of your book, and also a description of your marketing, because more and more publishers are unable to do particularly aggressive marketing jobs, and they're going to rely on your work as the author to publicize your own book and sell your own book. So, they want to hear that you've thought through what sorts of personal networks and social networks you can reach out to. And finally, you want to become an expert at what it is that you're talking about. And sometimes you can go to these writers' conferences. And if you position yourself well, particularly if you're speaking at any of those, at any sort of events where you might be encountering agents, you might meet someone in that way. Really, if you want to sell your book, you are going to have to take the bulk of the work upon your own shoulders. And a lot of folks I spoke to said that this book becomes a pathway to other opportunities. So many people say you don't get rich writing a book, and you don't write a book for the money. You write a book for the platform to then be able to speak about your work as an expert in other arenas and get many people pick up consulting gigs. Many people do a lot of media outreach that results from their name being associated with this book. So yeah, and there will be a wider reach if you go with a larger publisher. So there's a good reason for that. And you might get a more aggressive, if you have a good agent who's negotiating for you, you might get a bigger advance. So that's useful as you're embarking on the risk of writing this book and don't know where it will ultimately end. Really think that anyone who's embarking on this work should be doing aggressive work building their own media list and thinking about how they're going to pitch their book. It's actually one of the mistakes I think I made. I listened to some people who said, you don't want to be pitching your own book to the media. You want someone else to do that work because it seems strange for the author to call and pitch their own book. And in retrospect, I've spoken with other authors who've aggressively pitched the media on their own book and have had a much better success in actually getting media hits, which is one of the biggest ways we sell books these days. It's less and less from speakers, tours, or book tours. It's more and more through social media and traditional media hits. part of the best process was actually the challenge, rising to the challenge of working in a book, because I'm not a writer by trade. I'm not even a writer by craft. I'm a writer because I saw a need in the world for this book, and there were no other books like this, and I really thought it was important to provide a roadmap, the type of book I would have wanted when I started my activist journey at age 21. So I think for me, it was the challenge of being, this daunting task of creating hundreds of pages of material out of thin air, and following the whole process start to finish, and just watching myself do that. But another really great piece is it legitimizes your work and your voice in that field. And so people increasingly turn to me and ask me to speak on panels or do interviews because they see me as an authority in terms of youth movement building. And that's a real treat as well. I was in graduate school when I started writing the book actually when I was in Ecuador, and that was really tough. I was studying Spanish and Portuguese during the days, Monday through Friday, and so I had to work on the book on the weekends. And I would work for about 8 hours straight, Saturdays and Sundays, and so writing was really tough. But I continued doing the edits when I got to graduate school, and the book actually emerged in February of my first year of graduate school, and it was really difficult to balance all of the media and outreach and publicity and building a website for the book while I was also a full time student working two jobs.